What's up, everybody? What's going on? This week's episode, in honor of Mental Health Awareness Month, is my part of my caregiving story of my mom, from taking care of my mom 2019, 2020, before she passed. This weekend marks the 5-year anniversary of her passing. So recently I had the pleasure of participating in a conference. So I shared my story in the conference, and I'm sharing the video footage of me presenting at the conference. You'll also hear the audio version if you listen to the audio version of the podcast. So definitely check it out. Leave a comment, share the videos or share the audio, download the episode however you listen to it, download, leave comments, especially if you listen to Spotify, the podcast on Spotify. So check it out. Welcome to the Social Work Rants podcast, providing a platform for social workers to share their stories. The podcast covers a wide range of topics, including mental health, social justice, policy, and the day-to-day realities of the profession. Season 10 will continue to focus on the intersectionality of mental health and finances. Hope you enjoy.
Basiliso Moreno. He's a seasoned business strategist and a consultant with a passion for helping organizations thrive. He has guided countless companies toward growth and success with years of experience in business development and strategic planning. He is known for his keen insights and ability to drive impact change. Basiliso is coming to the stage to share with you Caregiving with Grief. Please join us in welcoming Basiliso, also known as Bass Moreno. Take the stage.
Thank you so much, Sherelle, for this wonderful opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us all throughout the world. Thank you for taking your time to hear the male perspective of caregiving. So, how many of you, you can put it in the chat, how many of you have lost a loved one due to the COVID-19 pandemic? Take a couple of seconds to put it in the chat. I'm raising my hand. So I want to take you back. I want to take you back to 2018, 2019. At the time, I was living in my hometown of the Bronx, New York, caregiving for both my parents, my mom, my dad, while raising both of my children. My mom had a history of falls due to vertigo. Around 2018, she had a bad fall, which caused her to have like 7 staples in her head. And during that time, I told my mom in the hospital, like, your next fall, that's going to be it. Like, your body's not going to be able to handle another fall. So let's take you back to 2019. It was June 2019. And knowing my mom had a history of falls, I was going to be out of town for the entire weekend. And I let her know, you need to be careful. I'm not going to be home this weekend. I'm going to my friend's wedding. I'm not going to be, so please be careful. I'm not going to be home. Sure enough, it was a Friday night I had this conversation. Sure enough, the next day, not even a full 24 hours later, I get a text message through her medical alert button saying that she was rushed to the hospital. And come to find out, she had fallen at home and broke her ankle in 2 places. Now she's in the hospital and now needs short-term rehab. Unfortunately, the rehab wasn't going well at all. And then she ended up having a bone spur, skin breakdown on the same ankle that she broke her ankle with, and it was not healing due to her issues with diabetes. So she spends all her birthdays, she spends my birthday, she spends all the holidays in the nursing home, and she's not getting any better. The rehab people at the nursing home said she is, they deemed her bedbound. So now the state, we talk about stages of grief, usually when somebody passes away, but we don't talk about stages of grief when a life change happens. Now, my mom was always going to the supermarket, always going to medical appointments, just doing her basic needs, able to do it on her own. Now they deem her bedbound, and now I'm home, pretty much home, having to juggle everything while at the same time work as a social worker, and I also work with older adults as well. So I do discharge planning, or I did at the time do discharge planning from nursing homes back home, or people going to the hospital and doing discharge planning back to go back home. So now my work life as a social worker and my home life, personal life, are starting to intertwine a little bit, and I always had to usually been able to keep both of my professional life and work life separate. So now this is December 2019. We starting hearing like the first rumblings of something's happening in China, and obviously we found out is COVID-19. Here comes 2020. We start doing discharge planning for my mom to come home, and she came home literally 2 weeks before the shutdown happened in New York. So I'm literally, the whole circle of life starts happening. I'm literally like having to bathe her, change diapers, put clothes on her, everything I used to do for my kids when they were toddlers and babies, having to do the same thing for my own mom. And frustration starts, kicking in. Mainly, like for me, like because I had recently been diagnosed with 2 herniated discs in my back. I had recently hurt my finger playing basketball, and I was using the same hand I hurt my finger to change diapers. It was a very painful, very hard situation to deal with. One day in April, literally like 5 years ago this month, I was able to work from home, and my mom starts coughing all of a sudden, was taking her medication and started coughing, and immediately she turns red very, very fast. I'm like, what's going on? Why are you choking on some Gatorade? And like literally she turned red, and like now having to call 911. COVID is here in this is April 2020, so COVID literally just started taking over New York City. New York City becomes the epicenter of the COVID pandemic, and I'm literally having to call 911, and literally I'm in the hallway of my apartment. After calling 911, the EMS comes in, and I'm thinking I'm saying my last goodbyes to my mom in the hallway. All at the same time, making sure my dad is okay, making sure he's autoimmune deficient, and making sure he's not getting sick, making sure somehow I'm not getting sick. Luckily for me at that time, my girlfriend was able to take care of my kids and take her to her apartment, because she was able to work from home. So that aspect I didn't have to deal with face-to-face in person necessarily. So literally a week later goes by, and my mom somehow miraculously got discharged from the hospital. However, she had flat affects, literally was physically, facially unrecognizable. Like she wasn't there physically, emotionally, like mentally, she just wasn't there. Like I knew something was off immediately as soon as she came off the hospital. Couldn't really communicate other than a couple of words, just not mentally just wasn't there. It was hard to really like explain what was happening, but I knew something was off. All she could say was that she needed some water. Was able to get some water. You know, she ended up having COVID, and was still being discharged back to my house a week later. It was like, oh, like we can't have mom in the hospital. I got to deal with dad. He might thinking he might catch it, thinking that I might catch it. We had a mask on in our own house and wearing gloves and all this stuff we were doing in the streets to protect ourselves. We were doing it in our own house. Literally, I called 911 the next day. Like, she needs to go back to the hospital. The doctors um, didn't know what was going on. I had explained to the doctors. I literally had a coherent conversation with her days before, the weekend before discharge. Yes, she was a little bit confused, but she knew where she was at. She knew who I was. She was able to speak and was asking me to come visit her in the hospital. And I explained all that to the doctors, and the doctors were completely shocked. They were like, they thought her baseline, how she presented herself at the hospital, like that was her baseline. Like, no, I literally had a full conversation with her. She was alert, coherent times 3, literally days ago. Now she can't even say like 2 words, put a whole sentence of 2 or 3 words together. So I had no idea what was going on. The doctors had no idea what was going on. And I explained to the doctors she needs to go to long-term care. I can no longer care for her in my home. Now I want to stop right there because many of us in our Black and brown communities, we don't have these tough conversations like that. So for me to make that decision to not only care, I wasn't even thinking about me. I was thinking about my dad. I was thinking about, whenever my kids come back home and having these conversations, these sandwich generation that I'm in because I'm caring for my kids, plus I'm caring for my older adult parents. Now I'm stuck in the middle and making these tough decisions that we don't have these conversations in our community. And part of my business of Bash Moreno Consulting is to normalize having these tough conversations of making these tough decisions and normalizing having these conversations and having to make these tough decisions and kind of go from there. So literally making the decision like she needs long-term care placement. I can't care for her like physically, mentally. I wasn't able to do it. Plus, I was still working during the pandemic, working with my older adult clients, and literally my older adult clients are passing away from COVID as well while I'm dealing with personal stuff with my mom. So literally now both my worlds are completely intertwined together and dealing with all this happening real time all at the same time. So my mom gets discharged, goes to a nursing home, and literally passes away May 3rd, 2020. So I'm almost at the 5-year anniversary of her passing. And it doesn't get any easier. And now, because I was doing so much of still working, and I was actually planning on move out of New York to move to Delaware, my focus became even more of planning to move out of New York and getting my finances in order to make that move happening. So I didn't allow myself to grieve necessarily. So, we talk about stages of grief. When initially I got that phone call on May 3rd at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I immediately was bawling, crying. Like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And then literally was, they had called me from the nursing home. It was like, hey, we need to ID your mom. And the only way, because of COVID, I couldn't go to the nursing home to go visit. they were like, the only could do it was email, either send you a text message or email a picture of your mom to ID. Now, that email, that email that I got was probably the worst email I ever got in my life. And having to ID your own mom through email is, I hope, something nobody has ever have to experience in their life. And literally, when I saw my mom's picture, I almost started to faint. I was literally every like ounce of energy I had in my body was starting to go. And I told my son, like, I was like, go get me some water right now. My son ran to get him. God bless him. He ran to get me some water and drank some water, and I was able to compose myself. But we talk about, the stages of grief. I was having some denial a little bit later on in the day. I was like, I gotta go home and tell dad, his love of his life for 40 years, is no longer with us physically. Having to call my aunts, both in New York and in Puerto Rico, that my mom passed away, and a couple of friends that my mom had passed away. Um, it was very like transactional, you would say, like literally, like this life was happening all so fast, and caring for me, making sure the kids were okay, just making sure my dad was okay, and not having to really like deal with the issue at hand that my mom had passed away. Like I literally like moved out of New York like later on in the fall of 2020, and focusing on purchasing my first home, which I did in February 2021. Um, Really, the anger and the acceptance. I'm now dealing with that for the past year and a half. I finally addressing the loss of my mom with therapy, and that's another thing that doesn't get talked about males, men going to therapy. I suggest every male please go to therapy. It was definitely helpful, especially Latino men. Please go to therapy. Um, it's definitely been healing, allowing myself to grieve, allowing myself to just accept the loss. So yeah, it's to a point that I wrote a book. I don't have a copy of the book, but it's called Triumph Through Pain: How to Maximize Your Full Potential in Hard Times. I wrote a poetry book talking about my grief, my loss, in financial education. So, and now I'm helping fellow sandwich people who are in the sandwich generation, like myself, to have these conversations. So I'm currently offering a free 45-minute consultation. I'm gonna put the link in the comments. So if you're in that sandwich generation, caring for an older adult, whoever it is, parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, and having kids on your own, let's have these conversations. Let's normalize talking about estate planning. Let's talk about anything related to finances, how you're struggling with your own personal finance, because it's hard. Having these hard conversations, but that need to be had, because the last thing you want is to go to probate court, and now you're wasting money paying for lawyers that could be money that could be invested within your own family, and start building generational wealth within your own family tree. So I'm definitely going to put it in the comments. Definitely reach out. You can go to my website, bassmorenoconsulting.com. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Bass Moreno Consulting. And yes, let's connect, build. Let's have these tough conversations that need to be had, And shout out to the previous presenter, George, talk about his journey. My father-in-law literally passed away from Parkinson's last week. So it's the struggle is definitely real. So thank you, everybody.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. Wow.
That was so
Yeah. Wow. Okay, take a pause. It's real. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vasilisa. I know it's hard because every time you have to repeat it over and over, it gets harder. And then also, you just lost, like you said, your father-in-law to dementia. Our condolences to you and your family. But yes, it is hard to lose a loved one. However, we have to go through the stages of grieving, right? Tough conversations, but they are real. But we thank you so much, Vasilisa, for coming and sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Continue to be strong, continue to be resilient. It's a lot of people out there that are going through the same thing. I just want to share with the audience that you are not alone. Reach out in the community, reach out to your family. There should be someone that you can lean on when you're going through these tough situations. No one is bulletproof. No one, when these things happen, sometimes they be sudden. You don't know, it just happened. A family member has passed away. What do you do? Right? How do you deal with this? So always know, keep someone close to you that you can reach out and touch when you go through these situations, these challenging situations and struggles.